I'm one of those people that loves lists, more specifically lists in which things are ranked from the opinion of the writer. Whether it be sorting a director's films in order of quality, or the albums released within a given year, there's something fulfilling about creating a personal hierarchy of art. When browsing through various top whatever lists by different publications, it's interesting to see how often people come to somewhat of an agreement. For example, I went through a ton of different topics to try and prove my assumption. When ranking Quentin Tarantino's films, Death Proof is almost always last and Pulp Fiction is usually first or second. When looking at Drake's discography, Thank Me Later and Views are always at the bottom while Take Care is usually up top. This concept of what's best and worst stays true when looking at most subject areas. However, there's one area where I found that seemingly no one can agree on anything: ranking Kanye West's albums. This is where I see the most contention, whether it be on social media or real life. But why can't we come to an understanding of what's best and worst when it comes to Kanye? To understand, we have to go through an abridged history of Kanye's solo career in music. In 2004, West released his first solo album, The College Dropout. Musically, we saw Kanye develop his chipmunk soul style of production. Many of the songs include sped up, pitch change, samples of older R&B and soul records. West is the primary producer on all 21 tracks. Lyrically, Kanye diverged from the dominant gangster persona of rap at the time and went after more topical social and political issues. Main topics include religion, racism, and higher education. Features consist of socially conscious rappers like Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and Common that sound perfectly at home in the sounds of College Dropout. In 2005, Kanye released Late Registration. While the sound isn't wildly different from his first venture, this 21-track album is much more lush and elaborate. It's very string-heavy, featuring large orchestras, which makes sense when you see that the production was mainly split 50-50 between Kanye and film producer John Bryan. Topics on this album include personal and political themes like poverty, drug trafficking, and healthcare. Features on this album are slightly more diverse, consisting of hip-hop legends like Cam'ron and The Game, but also vocalists like Maroon 5's Adam Levine. In 2007, West dropped Graduation. This is where Kanye's variety really starts to show. The sound is more anthemic. It's music that derives away from those R&B soul roots and turns into something more suited for the arenas that Kanye was doing shows in. There's inspiration from indie rock, electronic, and house music from the time. This sound blends together with the help of samples from Daft Punk, Elton John, Steely Dan, and Michael Jackson. West again shares production with John Bryan, but also gets help from Mike Dean, All Day, and Plain Pat. Lyrics revolve around Kanye's fame and how he got to where he is, his fans, and analyzation of himself and more. Features include Coldplay's Chris Martin, Lil Wayne, and T-Pain. 2008 saw Kanye's biggest change in sound yet with 808s and Heartbreak. After a series of distressing personal events, the sound is bleak, minimalistic, and barely hip-hop at all. The electric sounds, synths, and heavy use of autotune make this more of a blend of electropop and R&B than anything. Production is mainly shared between West, Jeff Basker, and No ID. Lyrical themes encompass loss, alienated fame, and heartache. Features include Mr. Hudson, Kid Cudi, and Young Jeezy. This was a very experimental album and clearly had some therapeutic value to a very distraught West. In 2010, Kanye gave the world My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. During a self-imposed exile to Hawaii, Kanye invited some of the world's most talented musicians and producers to create this Goliath of pop culture and music. This album's sound is maximalist to the core. Its opulence is created by blending all of the previous sounds West had come to be known for, including soul, baroque, electro, and symphonic styles. West acted as a production CEO, leading a team of people like Mike Dean, No ID, The RZA, and Plain Pat. The themes of Twisted Fantasy include topics like celebrity, consumer culture, race, and the American dream. Features include everyone from Drake to Fergie, Alicia Keys to Elton John, Pusha T to Justin Vernon of Bon Iver, and so many more. In 2013, we saw the release of Kanye's next venture, Yeezus. This album is loud, in your face, and listing sounds of drill, punk, industrial, and dancehall. These sounds were created by West with the help from producers like Rick Rubin, Daft Punk, Jess Affelstein, Hudson Mohawk, and Mike Dean. The lyrics are aggressive, braggadocious, and primal, discussing things like slavery, murder, and relationships gone wrong. Features include the likes of Chief Keef, Justin Vernon, Frank Ocean, and Charlie Wilson. Along with 808s, this is arguably Kanye's most unique album in respect to the rest of his discography. And finally, in 2016, we were given Kanye's 7th studio album, The Life of Pablo. Similarly to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, this is sort of a review of all of Kanye's different sounds. There's bits and pieces of every one of Kanye's albums within Pablo. As always, Kanye leads production, but gets help from longtime collaborators like Rick Rubin, Mike Dean, Hudson Mohawk, and also newcomer Metro Boomin. Lyrical themes coincide with the different sounds Kanye touches on within Pablo. For example, FML reminds me a lot of 808s with its minimalistic nature and topics of depression and broken relationships. Features come in forms of people like Young Thug, Post Malone, Sia, Andre 3000, and Sampha. Now that we've covered all of Kanye's albums, it's apparent how much of a variety of sounds we have. This is one of the core details that makes it so hard to rank one album over another. There's the common saying of things being like apples and oranges. This idiom is explained as thus. A comparison of apples and oranges occurs when two items or groups of items are compared that cannot be practically compared. I'd argue that Kanye's discography is the epitome of this concept. Ranking Kanye's albums is comparing different genres of music, different eras, different inspirations. Putting this unique set of albums in some type of order is much more difficult than comparing apples and oranges. And lastly, the other key detail that makes it so hard to rank these albums is the pure quality of Kanye's discography. Look at these ratings of Kanye's albums, then try and match them to whatever album you think they correspond to. Hard, right? Each and every one of Kanye's releases was met with praise from critics and everyday music lovers alike. Millions of records sold, 68 Grammy nominations with 21 wins. Success is an understatement. When you look at the ratings, you can see that 808s has a few lower ratings, but this is an album that took years to be fully appreciated. It's clear now how much of an impact this record made on the music industry. Kanye's supposed worst album based on these reviews is a clear inspiration for many of today's biggest musicians. So between variety and quality, I think it's clear that trying to rank these albums is useless. Personal favorites change based on mood and time. My ranking of these albums could change within a few hours, let alone a day. Will we ever come to some kind of conclusion? I doubt it, but Kanye said it best after winning his Grammy for Best Rap Album for College Dropout.
I guess we'll never know.